Document Center Overview. So we are going to discuss Document Center, but I just want to show you this screen first here, which is my portal. A lot of customers now have a portal, so instead of seeing the Document Center first when they access their site, they're going to see the portal instead. So when you access your site, you may see this screen first. If you don't have a portal or it hasn't been set up yet, the first screen that you'll see when you access your iCompass site will be the Document Center. And that's what we see here on my screen. If you'd like to see the Document Center and you have a portal that shows up first, you can always click on Document Center up here in the top right corner. From the portal or from Document Center, you can sign in by clicking Sign In up at the top right corner. Here you can enter your username and password. So one of the things that we'll notice here is once I signed in, I have a lot more documents and folders available. So when I was just viewing as a public member, there wasn't as much there, and that's due to permissions. So we'll talk about permissions a little bit later as we go through, but I just wanted to point out here how that view changes. So what we want to first understand about the Document Center is that it's really like the heart or the center of the system. Every module in some way or another will connect back to the Document Center, including your portal. The portal displays meetings, documents, depending on the permissions that are set through the Document Center. Published agendas, published minutes from Meeting Manager, those are stored in the Document Center but do display on the portal. Action tracking, so if we're adding attachments or even if we're adding attachments in the agenda or the minutes, in those cases, those attachments are also stored in the background in the Document Center. Any reports or different kinds of output documents that we might publish are also going to be stored in the Document Center. Records or case files can be created here as well if you're using Record Center or Records Manager. And of course, we can also just upload and store files here in the Document Center, either for just staff use or for public use as well. So one of the first things we're going to do here is search. So when you first start out with your site, there isn't going to be a whole lot there. So you can probably very easily navigate through your folder tree here and find what you're looking for by just expanding the folders and locating those documents. That being said, as you use your site more and more information is stored here, it's going to be a lot easier to simply search for what you're looking for. For example, a member of the public perhaps comes in, they've got a concern about a barking dog in their area, disturbing everyone, say in the middle of the night. So they're curious as to what kind of animal control bylaws or ordinances have. So one thing you can do here is you can just search. So for example, what I'm going to do is search the word bark. I can type in just a search word or a search phrase, just depending on what I'm looking for. Once I've done a search, kind of like if I was using Google, we'll see all the search results appear here on the right. I can open up the document by clicking on the top link here. Keep in mind, not all documents will preview like this, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I can see the folder pathway, and I can see the hits in the document as well. I can also open the document in a new window. On the left here, we have other search criteria that can be used. So I can use this advanced search criteria to narrow my search down. All of these are pretty self-explanatory. The only one I'm really going to point out here is what we call the wildcard search. So with the wildcard search, what you want to do is you'll just type in your root word and put an asterisk or a star at the end. What this does is it expands the search to include bark as the root word. So what this will do is it'll show us more results such as barking, barked, barks, barkington, anything where bark is the root. If we scroll down here a little bit, we also have what we call accordions. So accordions are just little bars that you can click on and they will give you more options. And it's called an accordion because I basically could just click on it here to close or click on it again to open it back up. I can also order my results that we see here on the right. I can also select a specific location. So from my current site, I could pick a particular folder or even subfolder to search through. Another cool feature here is under where it says current site, you can also select other public document center sites. For example, if I'm in California, what I could do is I could look for other animal control bylaws or ordinances in my state, or if you're in Canada, your province, to find related bylaws that maybe are taking place in other municipalities that you can use to help shape your own. I can search the entire state or province, or I can drill down to specific areas around me. Once I do that, I can just search again. The results that will display are only public results, so you don't have to worry that private results will be displayed to other document center users. And here we can see a little bit more information. So if we ever want to get back to the document center here once we're logged in, what we want to do is just place our cursor up here over document center. We'll get our drop down menu, and then we just click document center again. So another thing that we can do here in the document center is we can sort our main screen here. So sorting is set up within your cookies of your browser and your user. So right now everything is sorted by name. I may opt to instead have everything sorted by default. So that's just the default order, and we'll talk about how to arrange that a little later. And I just click apply sort. So this is my default order. The public will also be able to do this. Again, it's just sorting for them. We're not affecting the actual order that's the default within your document center. We also have different ways of viewing. So like we saw earlier, I kind of went through my folders and located things that I was looking for. This is what we call the file list view. Another view that we can use instead is Preview Pane. So the way that Preview Pane works is we'll have information displayed here on the right. So if I dig down through some of my documents here, I still have my table of contents here on the left, and then my documents, if they're able to preview, will display here on the right. We also have thumbnail view. So the way that works is very similar to Google Docs. So if you've used Google Docs before, this will feel familiar. This is really good if you're looking for a particular document that has a specific look. So maybe you don't remember the exact content, or you're looking for, say, an image. This is a really good way to do that. So again, what I can do is I can just drill down through my folders here. And what will happen is I'll be able to quickly glance at all the different documents that I have. And if I want to see more, again, I can always click on it to see the full document. I'm just going to return to file list view and just keep things simple here. What we also see at the top is what we call breadcrumbs. I started in the home folder, then I went through agendas to regular council, and now I'm in the 2018 folder. I can click on these different pathways to go back, or in this case here, maybe I just want to return to the home area, so I'll click on home. So what we're going to do now is look at how to create a folder. For example, here's my ordinance bylaw folder. If I expand this, I may notice here that I don't have anything for 2019. So in order to create a new folder here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the parent folder, which is the ordinance bylaw folder, by clicking on the name. Now that folder tree is open up on my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. Looks like a little folder with a plus icon. I'm going to click the create folder icon. That's going to bring up a section where I can title my folder. So in this case here, I will put in 2019. This section here is your permissions. What happens is when we create a folder or upload a document into another folder, it's going to inherit the permissions of the parent folder. So in this case, the ordinance bylaw folder is public, so that's what we see here. However, Once I create my folder, I can actually change the permission. So if I don't want it to inherit those permissions before I create it, I could make it private, for example. If this was a private folder, I could add groups of users or individual users. And depending on my permission setup, if I'm using enhanced permissions, I'll be able to choose how that particular group or those individual users interact with that particular folder. So there's view, update, and delete. So for example, maybe Bucky owns this folder and then administration can just view. And then I would click create. You will have coaching sessions to really dive into these permissions and explain them a bit better. This is just a very high level overview. I'm just going to keep things simple, return it back to available to all, and create. Once my folder is created, it'll open up here on my screen. If we look at the breadcrumbs, we can see that we created that 2019 folder in the ordinance and bylaw folder. At this point here, I can upload my documents. So I'm just going to go quickly back here to ordinance and bylaw. If I'm uploading documents, what I want to do is just like if I was creating a folder, I want to choose the destination folder. So in this case, we'll say 2019. Now that it's open, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on what looks like a little cloud here with an up arrow. That is your upload document icon. So what I'll do is I'll click on that. And from here, what I can do is I can select the documents I want to upload to this folder. So in this case, it's going to be animal control. You can go through your network or your hard drive here to find the documents you want to upload. If you're uploading multiple documents, you can use your Shift key, or if you're using Windows 10, you can use these little check boxes, or you can also use your Control key to select multiple documents. There's no limit to how many documents you select. There's also no limit on what kind of document you can upload or the size of the document. Do, though, be mindful of the amount of data that you have for your site. So in this case here, I'm going to keep things simple. I'm just going to upload animal control. When it's uploading here, we'll see the progress. At this point, I can rename the document if I want. If I'm using Records Manager, Records Center, I may be able to classify. Again, we can see that I have the option to adjust the permissions. And if I'm happy with that, I can just save and close. And there's my document. So one thing that is good to know as well is while we can upload whatever document type we want, not all will preview. When I'm talking about preview, we saw this earlier with the preview pane. And if we're using file list view, if I click on this document here, it will open a preview or just basically open the document on my screen. Not all documents will do that. So document types that will preview are your really normal file types like PDF, Word, JPEG, and PNG. If it's outside of those document types, what's going to happen is it's just going to allow you to download the document onto your computer. So it's still stored here, but in order to view, you need to download and open on your own computer. Another thing that we can do within the Document Center is edit. So we can edit folders and we can edit documents. So if I say I needed to rename this folder or change the permissions, I can do that. Or in this case, if I want to make changes to the permissions of the document or view the history, I can do that too. I can click on the row to select the folder or document, or I can use the checkbox at the left-hand side here for documents. Here we'll see the edit button. So it looks like a little piece of paper with a pencil. That's our edit icon. If you don't see the edit icon, you may not have permission to edit this particular document or folder, or you may not have edit permissions within Document Center. I'm going to click on Edit. That'll take me to this new screen. So I have three tabs here. I've got Details, Permissions, and History. We'll come back to Details and just take a quick look here at Permissions. Just like when we were creating a folder or uploading a document, we have the opportunity here to adjust the permissions as needed. We also have the option to review the history. Within history, we can see who's been accessing the document or the folder and when. We can also expand that history and restore to previous versions if necessary. So say someone goes in there, they update the permissions incorrectly, we could restore to the previous permission settings if required. We also have the access log. So this looks kind of similar. What it's showing you here is the date it was accessed and by who, if they are a system user, as well as the IP address. What we'll also see in here is not just user access, but public access. So we won't know the name of the public member, but we will be able to see the IP address. That just allows us to basically see if the same person has been hitting a particular document or folder multiple times. These results can also be exported to Excel. So I'm just going to return to details here. Within the details area, we can adjust the title of the document or folder. We can download a copy of the original. If we have Records Center, Records Manager, we can create record. We can move the document or folder to a new location. And we can also replace the file. Replace file is actually quite an important feature. A lot of organizations, what they do is they'll take the link here for the document, and they may use this on their website, or they may say send this out for others to review. And also a lot of staff and also public members will bookmark these links as well. What happens in this case is if I delete this document, for example, maybe I've got a new version. If I delete it, this identifier will basically go away. And anyone who's bookmarked this page now will not be able to access it. And if you have used that link somewhere on your website or sent it out to anyone, if it's been deleted, it's not going to work anymore. It's going to give the staff or public a 404 error, and they'll call you wondering where the document is. So if you have a new version, instead of deleting it, the best option is to actually replace file, because that'll keep this link alive. So you won't need to update anyone. Anyone that's already bookmarked it will be able to return. So all we do is click replace file. We'd choose again a file from our computer or our network. And then we would just save. And now that link stays alive, but the new information is available. One last thing that we can do here is actually edit Word documents. If you've uploaded a Word document, you'll see it displayed here on the right-hand side. And this only works for Word, doesn't work for other file types. But let's just say here, I forgot to put in bird. So all I need to do is just make the edits here. I can use my keyboard shortcuts, and I can also use basically my slim editor here up at the top if I need to add any formatting in. Once I make my changes, all I need to do is save, and that new revision will show right away, again, to anyone who's bookmarked this page or has come back to the page. Instead of replacing a file, if you're using a Word document, you can actually just edit as well. So I'm just going to head back to my bylaw ordinance folder here. What we also might notice is that things are a little bit out of order. So we talked a little bit about changing the order, and right now what I'm looking at is the default. This is what everybody sees by default when they access your Document Center site. If we want to change the default order, we're going to use something called ordering mode. Not all users will have access to this feature, so if you don't see it, it may not be available to you. If I'm going to change the order, I can go up to Sort and select Enable Ordering Mode. When ordering mode is enabled, we'll see it highlighted here up in the top corner in blue. Ordering mode is drag and drop. For example, if 2014 needs to go under 2015, I just drag and drop it to its new location. If I want as well, I could expand my folders and say I needed this one to actually go into the 2014 folder. I simply select the document and drag and drop it here. I can even place it in a different order within the already existing files that are there in that folder. If I want as well, I can even drag a folder into another folder. Once I'm done, I can go back to Sort and disable ordering mode. Another option that we have is what we call a soft delete. Again, not all users will have access to this particular feature. And depending on your particular permission and access to a folder or document, you may or may not have access to delete in that one particular area. So just depends on your permission setup. I may notice here, maybe I already had a 2019 folder set up somewhere else. If I need to get rid of this because it's a duplicate, I can do a soft delete. I can select whatever I want to delete by selecting the checkboxes here. I can expand the folder as well. Say I just wanted to get rid of the animal control document, I can do that too. In this case, I'm going to select the folder so both are selected. And then I'm going to click on what looks like a little trash can up here at the top. When that happens, it will display what I have selected. I can expand to make sure that everything I selected is indeed what I wanted to delete. And then I can enter in my password. This is the same password I used to log in. Then I just click Confirm Password. We refer to this as a soft delete because once it's deleted, it will actually go into a recycle bin here under Document Center. This recycle bin does not auto purge. It can only be purged by administrators. If you accidentally delete something, if you're an administrator, you can go into the recycle bin and restore the document or folder. Alternatively, too, if you're not an administrator, you can always ask an administrator as well to restore the document or folder that was accidentally deleted. So there's a couple other things here in Document Center just for you to be aware of, and also throughout the site. If you're ever getting stuck here and you're not too sure, you're like, wow, I don't quite remember how I create a folder. No worries. Up at the top corner here, we have Help and Help Guide. So that Help Guide will take you through sort of step by step what you need to know. And there's different sections here. There's also embedded videos. You can use the index or the search as well. We can expand a particular chapter and look through different sections. You'll also notice there are embedded images. So those images are tiny. If I mouse over it, however, we can see it'll expand so I can see a bit better. The other option we have is down here at the bottom corner. It says Need Help. These are on-screen walkthroughs. So I could say, how do I create the folder? I can also search. And this will actually take me through on screen the steps that I need to follow. Thank you for watching the Document Center training video.